Okay, anything now? Okay, I really hope there's something now. It would suck if I had to cut this one out. Yes! Is there an echo? Do you hear an echo? Yes! Ah, damn it. I knew it. I knew I could do it, but hey. Okay. All sounds from here. Okay, excellent. Yes. This really sucks because I went babbling on for maybe 10 minutes or so. At least a good 10 minutes before anyone Mr. or Miss or Super Ghostuk. Slight echo, but not too bad. Okay, I might know what the issue is. Okay. And do we have audio now? And if so, do we have an echo? Well, okay, I'll go on. Anyway, I'll go on regardless. Okay. It's very likely that yeah. Anyway, I think we have this. Okay. Sorry about that. There's something. Okay. Anyway, if it's not too bad, I'll go on. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Super Ghostuk, for letting me know. Okay, excellent. So, I'll pick up from where I actually started the thing. Did you, by any chance, those watching, did you manage to pop in early enough to see the pictures of Bertil? Yeah, I can still. That's actually Morran. That's Bertil's friend. So. Just a few pictures for those who, if you weren't watching when Bertil's pictures were on. There we go. Okay, going on. So what I left off with last week was Anastasia the patrician, who was the lady in waiting in the court of the Justinian I in Constantinople. Eventually went on to live as a man as a male monk, dressed up as a male monk. Okay, so we get on this time. I'll go through just very briefly, the second millennia, from the 1300s to the the 1800s. When it comes to trans issues, okay, and a bit later, mingling in with other LGBTQ plus issues, okay. Anyway, Rolantino Roncaglia, an Italian man who was charged and at least tried for sodomy in the 1340s, when Italy and most of Europe was grappling with the plague. Okay, and he went on to confess. Well, in his confession to the court, he confessed basically to being an asexual, and nor having an asexual and impotent. So he, as I understand it from what I read, he was eventually released of the charges. Anyway, and his wife died of plague, and he then went on to live a life as a cross-dresser, if you will, transvestite. Okay. So, and he wore women's dresses because he was said to have a female look, voice, and movements. However, didn't have the female genitalia. However, and then another one from the 1300s. Many British people may have heard of this, or Johannes Richter or Eleanor Rykener, John Rykener, was arrested and interrogated, but no evidence to any direction shows whether or not he was convicted for cross-dressing in 1395. And there are the entire more links that I can provide you in the description box if you like. So, 1500s, we have documents of set rings a bell. Yeah, a person named Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca was documenting same-sex marriages and what seems to be the third sex or two spirits people among Native American tribes in his book carrying his name. So this brings us from the old world to the Americas. There are people in America who say same-sex marriage is a new thing. You know, it wasn't in, and this trans and elsewhere, of course, that this whole trans thing, same-sex marriage thing, didn't come until maybe 20, 30 years ago, or at least didn't come to America before then. But then again, Mr. Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca documents in 1540s in his book from his travels in the Florida Pacific in 1528 to 1536, and then, even then, is what 500 years ago, there were documented intersex, third sex people, two-spirit people, the Navajos, etc., had these, and they document, and there has been same-sex marriages even back then. So, and if you really bring this out to the fundamentalists that just, just weasel out. Yeah, I like my sound deck because I'm an ass. Okay. In 1700s, a preacher named Public Universal Friend, they called themselves, they were born Jemima Wilkinson, November 29th, 1752 in colony of Rhode Island and Providence plantations, which later became Rhode Island. Of the United States of America. So queer and non-binary preacher, fundamentalist preacher in the United States of America. Devil's workings or something. This preacher, Public Universal Friend, they call themselves, recovered from a serious illness, claimed to have died of the fever or the disease they had, and then took upon this preacher name, Public Universal Friend. What does that sound a modern day drug dealer, or a modern day name for a drug dealer, street level drug dealer? Okay, 2 microphones. Okay. Thank you. Just call me. Okay, I'll try to fix that. I'll be right back. Okay, how does it sound now? Yes, so do I have audio? Yes, excellent. I got it. Apparently I got the echo solved. Okay. Anyway, Super goes on to say, not sure if it's true, but wasn't there a few homosexual emperors, Roman emperors, that were in same-sex partnerships? Not to mention, bisexuality was pretty normal in ancient Greece. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. We have, for example, Emperor Nero in mid first century, and in early third century we had, or they had in Roman Emperor Ela, Elagabalus, um, who called called themselves mistress, wife, queen, etc. Yes, but I'm not talking about the so much about the same-sex marriage. I'm talking about trans, and this latter emperor that I mentioned was would now be in modern day terms, would be considered transgender. And for example, this public universal friend sounding quite a bit like a modern modern drug dealer, you know. They lived in the era where such things were highly stigmatized. Anyway, back onto that. Yes, and thus the same-sex marriage was described by, for example, Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca on his travels in among the Native Americans, but that was a state that was just that is just something a statement that I meant statement that came along with this. Anyway, in back to the old in Poland, Poznan, Wojciech z Poznania married to a man, Sebastian Slodonik, were highly frowned upon because they lived with a both, and they had issues with the Polish authorities for being a same-sex couple and having female partners and such, and returning to, and then it was considered back then crimes against nature, which wouldn't be lifted until several hundred years later. From the comment section, okay, the ancient, just call me Avi. The ancient Greeks were very sexual peoples. It wasn't uncommon to find two of the same sex doing around the corner. Didn't bat an eye. And then Super Ghost Duck goes on to say, in fact, gymnasium was just a place for people to be naked. Lol. And just call me Avi. The French were really into the trans community. Before the revolution, it was common to see nobles swapping their sexes during parties. I did not know that. It was something that I perhaps overlooked in many ways. And yes, and then I already did mention the New England preacher, whose name sounds like a ghetto guy, and also tore apart the gender pronouns, etc., etc. Anyway, then I'll probably take a few things from the 1900s, but that would be something of a chapter its own in this series, and then I'll make a part 3 while I wrap up the entire thing. Okay, there were big sort of, shall we say, big names were tended to be in Germany and UK during the initial stages of these surgical procedures and the development of that. There, for example, in Germany, there was Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld, a co-founder of Institut für Sexualwissenschaft, Institute for Sex Research. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. It was a private research institute and office for counseling on this. So it had it eventually they had a huge collection of books, of literature studies, etc., etc. But we all know what. And then going a few 2 decades, not even like 15 or so years again forward, we had the who then destroyed the entire library. Anyway, and Hirschfeld was actually the first, as far as I can tell, to introduce the German term transsexualismus, which would be the new name for transgender. From the late 1800s, there was a term transvestite was the term that was used prior to transsexualism. And then actually the first trans people to have documented to have gone through, as far as I can tell, to have undergone vaginoplasty, trans women, were actually in Berlin under the care of Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld. And the first would, as far as I could find, was a trans woman called Dora Richter. And then there was the first female to male with Dora Richter. It was a vaginoplasty, and as for the first, as I said, much of this is now going on in Britain and Germany. Michael Dillon was first to go through the female to male sex reassignment surgery in 1949 by Harold Gillies in Britain, and it's an about 20 years later, that the German term transsexualismus is translated to English as transsexuality. And here this is where we get the first half of the 1900s. There will be I will go to I will go through the latter half of 1900s in a separate episode. But okay, so is there anyone watching who has actually watched the part one, or at least partially the part one? I'd like some. I'd love to have some feedback on how that went compared to this one, because this kind of series kind of thing, on the very exactly the same theme, is something that is very new to me, and as well as to be doing something in series. Okay, I hope there's still someone watching. I think at least there should stats show that there are two watching. Okay. Super Ghost goes on to say, I only came across your channel earlier today. Well, welcome. And I hope you'll stay. Actually, I think I noticed your 5 hours ago, Super Ghost you made a reference to Mr. 42 about 5 hours or so ago, and I'm glad you did find my channel sooner than later. Okay, so I've had now, this is the 10th episode of history. Yeah, thanks to Mr. 42, yeah. I've had 10 episodes of history with Hayley, 20, and this is still the record keeping series. Monday News, there have been 22 episodes. Yeah. I've been really pleased to have been able to have such a possibility to be able to make such series.
Aww.
And of course, by the way, for those watching now and those perhaps watching as replay, my email address is in the description box down below. If you have any topic suggestions you might want to talk about something, or wish to talk about these topics on the show with me, I will take guests if needed, and we can have a chat. If Super Ghost, if you have any suggestions from the past, queer topics from the past, please send me an email at heidiscorner@gmail.com. And we'll then take these suggestions into big consideration. Okay, so if at this point this stream has been going on for 47 minutes or so, and if however there was about 10 to 15 minutes 10 to 15 minutes without audio, so I may or may not take this down and edit out the bit without audio. Let me know in the chat if you think it might be a wise idea to edit out the bulk with no sound. Okay. Now, once again, I wish to relay my challenge. Those who disagree with me on whether or not transgender athletes should be able to compete in sports in categories consistent with their identified gender and their reassigned gender, please send me an email. I have offered I've offered this the possibility to debate me in a public manner, on a public live stream on a third-party channel. I've organized or I've made arrangements for a third-party channel to take me on with a person to debate me on whether or not trans people should be allowed to compete in categories consistent with their reassigned sex. I agree they should. If you disagree with me, you must send me an email. I've made arrangements. We can debate the issue on this topic. Just let me know. Send me an email. I've had several people come on my comment section disagreeing with me and agreeing to I think two have agreed to debate to this debate, but yeah, they chickened out, so go figure. But please send me email if you wish to debate me, and otherwise as well, please let me know, and we'll get onto it. Now, do you have any perhaps comments you wish to relay, or questions you wish to ask me? And Super Ghost Duck saying entirely up to you, referring to the whether or not I should take this down for a moment. Super Ghost Duck goes on to say, of course trans people should be allowed to take part in Olympics, etc., as the gender they identify with. Okay, Mr. Super Ghost Duck, please go see my live streams about Laurel Hubbard, parts 1 and 2 from June 29th and July 6th. Okay? I'll just get that to. I'll post them in the chat. Okay. Okay. There's one. And there's the other one. Those are the live streams that I addressed, and the issue or the topic of trans people in sports, in particular Olympic Games. And please spread the love. Okay, so do you have any more any questions that you'd like me to or issues you'd like me to address before I go for today? Because if not, I will be going for today. Okay. Because it's interesting that last week I had quite an interesting in the past week or so. I think it was these past two live streams that I've had was at least last Monday, this week Monday news, and the part one of this brief history of trans that I had a really interesting chat or the live chat during the live stream. Okay, I take it you do not have anything more to ask me, so without further ado, I'll have Stefan there and Bertil.
Aww.
Oops, sorry. It's my stream deck. The actual physical stream deck just fell apart. Okay, thank you, Miss Super Klostock. Thank you very much. Okay, Stay safe. Love ya.